been growing thanks to Jose as well. We're expanding into different rec centers. We have the food incubator going on. And today, I think the next step, which is really, I think, what we need for long-term sustainability of this organization, so that we're not having to ask, our fellow taxpayers for the money to keep this going, is I think the grant writer. We're looking to onboard Dr. Mireles onto our team. She's already started helping us with some of this work. Just kind of a donation with good faith. That we're willing to work with her. We highly appreciate that. And I want to make just before we go into this a strong recommendation to move forward with Dr. Mireles. Having spoken to her, really seeing her credentials, the way she thinks about this entire process of grant writing for this organization. She understands that we need to bring in the $500,000 grants, $50,000, $100,000. She's willing to go for it. So I want to thank Jose for bringing her in, working with her, Dr. Mireles for the opportunity to work with you. And I would like to dedicate most of the time today to see, what you all think about bringing her on to the team. It will come out of our pocket initially. I think we've come to some interesting terms that would have to be agreed upon by the board. I'd like to spend a lot of today's time working with Dr. Mireles' presentation on who we want to move forward with her as our grant writer.
No, it's down under executive.
I can't put under my. Oh, okay. So
yeah, we can do the
discussion.
We'll go back to it on executive director report. I need to do his introduction and then we'll go to executive session.
Okay. So I'm trying to see how to best fit to move that around so that I can at least help make that decision and then.
Oh, okay. Well, we can just run it straight. It'll all work out.
Work it out, yeah.
Okay. So then it's my report.
Yeah. Oh, that's on too.
Okay. So on my report, since this is our first in-person meeting that we've had since a long time, there was some speculation that the items that we covered at our last meeting should be revisited. I think that we could just kind of make a general motion that everything that we discussed in the last meeting is accepted by the committee, and we should be good. We didn't vote on anything that had to do with actual spending of money, so it was basically just the opening up of your accounts, from what I remember correctly, and basically that was it. We did hear some reports, but of course those were not action items. So if everybody's in agreement with that, we can pretty much ratify the last September 21st meeting items as being accepted by the board. Okay, does everybody agree?
Do we need to make a motion? Make a motion to accept items as presented in meeting on September 2021.
Give me a second.
I'll second.
So motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Right, motion passes. Next thing that we did talk about last time, but there was no action, is I was advising that we should get a new LCUAS secretary, since I have served on this position for the last 2 years, or basically since inception. So if anybody has any discussion about that, we would be happy to hear it now. Especially.
I nominate. I nominate Gabriela Maita Fernandez as a possible secretary for LCUAS.
I'll second.
I mean, are you okay with it? I'm assuming you have to be okay with it.
I'm okay with it.
You're okay, we're great.
Thank you.
And, if...
This wasn't planned.
Yeah. Is there anybody else that would like to consider running for secretary? Well, I think you're in.
I mean, I can, since we do have, granted, we've got a lot of work, but we do have a staff member. I don't think that if it becomes too challenging, staff could fill in that role. And I think in terms of detailed minutes and I don't think that's necessary to have really detailed minutes, just kind of the gist of which items have been taken and what the vote is. But if it comes to that, that's a possibility.
Oh, okay.
I agree. I think for the most part, most of the time that role is done by the executive team or the operational team, and then it's essentially signed off by the responsible officer. So I think considering that you're already volunteering to help this organization, I think that's something that we should definitely facilitate.
Yeah. And the way we usually work it on other councils is you're not alone. I stick with you for the next year, or actually until you find yourself a replacement, and then you stick with the next replacement, and so on. So everybody kind of has a mentor or somebody to help them.
Okay, because I've never been a secretary on a board, so I really don't know what to do. And I know it's all like note taking.
There's really no note-taking. John records
Yes.
everything.
I'm a
So thank you,
secretary. I'm a
thank you.
secretary also.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so-
Thank you.
Yeah, John records everything, so there's really no note-taking. You can just go back to the recording.
Except for little snippets of this. Okay, kept recording and stopping, recording and stopping. So the first part of this meeting is going to be very choppy.
Yeah.
But,
So at that point, we're okay. Hey, again, Diana. So we'll go ahead and do that. The next item that I'd like to talk about is with a heavy heart that I say that I received, yesterday I received a letter, and I should have brought it with me, from our current sitting president saying that he was resigning and that because of personal reasons and of course a change of address, he will no longer be able to fulfill his duties as LCUA as president. So now I think we can ask him to stay on until January 1st at least. And
As long as I can join remotely.
yeah, he can stay on until January 1st while we find a president. So if anybody would like to talk about becoming our next LCUA as president, now would probably be a great time to do so.
The stare.
Diana, any ideas? Yeah.
Can I ask a question? What is the state, is everybody who's exceeded the 3 meeting absentee, are they also off, and do you need more board members? Because I know a lot of people who would serve.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But do you know how many board members are needed?
I would say right now we have one, the agriculturalist,
And then also one.
and a economic development and incentives advisor.
Two.
I think the possibility is I think, I don't know, bringing Marcela back as a board member. I mean, she was past president. I don't know if she'd be willing to. I mean, I don't know.
I think she was, from what I've spoken to her, it was more that the designation was for an educational. That was the only reason why. If the board would like that, something like that.
Well, from economic development, I'll throw my name in if you need somebody to replace an economic development. I'm a certified economic developer, so I can do it. But it would be like, what's the term? I forgot. 2 years? They're 2-year terms?
It'd be a 2-year term starting in January.
Okay. And do you want, so is it possible to ask those, that Marcela and constitute the board and then make a decision on president?
Yeah, we could definitely table this item if nobody is volunteering. I think we kind of have to.
Yeah.
So I will make a motion to table this item until the next meeting, pending recruitment of more board members for the 2 open positions.
Oh, second, all right, make the motion.
I'll second that.
So,
All's in favor?
Aye.
Any against?
all right, so, it's all yours.
Okay, the treasurer, I'll just run through this really quickly. I put everything on QuickBooks Online, so I was able to spit out a quick report here since the beginning of time. And I'll clean it up a little bit more for the next meeting, but basically on the top, we have all our income that we have received to date. The biggest item being the grant from the city, the funds from the city, $125,000. We've received $611.55 in like direct donations, and $34.50 from sales of product income. Lumped in there is stuff that's sold at the farmer's market, and also we get middle donations, $5, $10 when the market sales go on, so that's kind of lumped together. I'm not quite sure that $5 in services, I have to clarify that, I'm not quite sure exactly what that is. Advertising expenditures, we spent $840 last year to recruit an executive director. Contract and professional fees, our executive director and any help that was required this past year. You know, unfortunately, this past year was not the best, obviously, time for us to kind of launch this, because we were severely limited with what we could recruit for volunteers and people actually being out there and getting help. So it was a very tough year to get this organization really launched. So we did have to get a little bit of extra labor to help out with the garden. Insurance, that's TMI, it's been paid twice. Office expenses are, they were the checkbook that was ordered, the ledger, checkbook, bank fees and service charges. Most of that primarily is when we first established the account, we had to, we were being charged a monthly service fee because there was no money, there wasn't the minimum balance in the bank account. And it wasn't really until we received the money from the city. So that accumulated over time. Shipping and postage, that's $322 is a PO box, and $7 was mailing certified mail to the IRS. Software and apps is the first month of QuickBooks Online. Garden equipment, it was a big shed that we purchased for Conseco House and Hillside, sorry. And then under supplies and material is everything. It's kind of lumped in there: seed, soil, any other kind of supplies that we have purchased for the gardens. I'll for the next meeting I'll try to kind of expand that a little bit so we can see exactly what has been purchased as far as like seed goes, and then as far as like stuff for repair and maintenance. And so that's pretty much where we're at. That's our ending bank account. Our balance, $58,531.34. But we do have a really nice check today for about $3,200 from the pumpkin patch. That was really successful. That was a really good event, and so that'll take us up by another $3,200. 36.
Plus $300 from sales.
Okay.
That
So like another 4,000.
Probably like 4,000.
Okay, very good.
Awesome. Thank you. Anything you need from us?
No.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate organizing everything on there. So it's going to help us a lot to really understand.
There is, I'm sorry, before I do get off my report, there is one expense head. I'm trying to figure this out. We need to apply for 501c3 with the IRS because there's a little bit of confusion. Well, we're really not designated federally as a nonprofit. Under the state of Texas we are, but so we need to reapply, and that'll probably be a decent sized expense coming up. I'm trying to figure out, trying to get a little bit of help to find somebody who can help us through that process, because I know it's not inexpensive to do it. You know, requires a little money.
I think we already are. I think when
In Texas.
legal set this up, it initially created a 501c3 and then went the local government code route.
Okay, so I guess I don't know who could maybe help clarify that, because when we were going to, so we were going to get an accountant, right, to submit our tax return, but in the end, when everything was about to be done, it was like, I can't find the organization anywhere. It's not designated as anything, and it wasn't even. So I had to I had to send off a letter for the IRS to give us confirmation of what we're designated as. That was 3 months ago. I still haven't heard anything. And so we're not. I guess in their eyes, we're not designated as anything. So I mean, I guess we need. And for example, the Jose, in a lot of
For example,
the grants.
Batch, we were not able to get HEB's help because we don't have that document.
Right.
Yeah, and when Keep Laredo Beautiful was created, we obviously filed with the Secretary of State, and I think it was about a year, and then we had to file with the IRS. You need to look at that paperwork, what they did.
Well, if you can do that, that'd be great, because really we're at that now, and we need to really straighten that out. So, and I mean, I think Viviana's also tried to ask around and stuff to figure out what happened when everything was formed, but nobody has really.
Yeah, obviously when you form it, you don't send anything to the IRS. So it's after the organization's been created that it seems like it was like a year afterwards that then we filed with the IRS. I can ask.
So then the question is, who did that? Because I don't think nobody just.
That was Ben. KLB had hired Ben.
Yes, then I got it.
Yes.
And so that's who I was going to use for,
Yeah.
or that's what we were going to use for.
So whatever he did for KLB, I think he could just do for Lucas.
Which is, and basically he said we need to apply for a 501c3.
Okay.
So, yes, I'm sorry.
So, I have a very, 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 very smart bookkeeper. She is not a certified public accountant, but she's super smart. She works for my family business, not for me personally. But we went through all the different things that have to be applied for. So you don't need a certification to do this or anything. You can apply. You just need to download the right forms. And what I suggested was that if I could get the Texas, we do have a Texas 501c3 file. That we know for sure, for Texas, but not for, and I need that paperwork. I have it, I mean, I'm sure you all have it in your something, or you don't have it.
We'll have to look.
It's a Texas 501c3. It's what you do to register before, in fact, that was part of the local government corporation requirements, was to have a Texas 501c3. That doesn't mean you have a IRS 501c3.
Correct, right. So we
At
just
all.
have to, we just need to, I guess, help somebody processing to put the application together to send it off to.
So I can help up to a certain extent. I would like to fill out and do all of that stuff, but I need the paperwork. And then if we do that, because it's extensive, you have to gather a bunch of stuff and put it in. And I have a feeling that the cost of this will come down a lot if that person is doing a review rather than compile and fill in. And so I'm willing to help with that. I just need the paperwork. I have all the bylaws, I have all of that stuff. I just need whatever was filed with the state. And the city should have that.
Okay, so if for example, I know Ben said he would charge like $4,000 to do it. At this point, let's say, I mean,
Wow,
do we
his
price
prices
it
have
out?
really gone up.
Do we?
We paid him 500, and so I was thinking, well, 500.
When was that?
I think even with KLB, he charges us 500.
Yeah,
every
okay.
year.
Well, yeah, he was quoting, and I want to maybe it was 3, but it was either 3 or 4, right there somewhere.
Yeah, I want to say every year he charges 500. He does all the IRS stuff, and yes, he did that initial filing.
Okay, so do
Now,
we need to?
maybe his prices did go up. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'll give him a call.
Okay, yeah, well, that's what he had quoted me. I mean, I have it somewhere through our messages, but then I guess the next step here, do we have to bid this out, or we just get, Ben and then maybe the
Well, I'm not charging you anything. I'm just
Oh, okay,
doing
so
it.
if nobody charges, do we need a motion?
No.
Like in the next meeting?
Yeah, this is a donation, I
Then
think.
it's all good.
No,
Don't-
no,
yeah.
no, I'm not charged.
Yeah, then in that case, it's easy.
Okay,
No, I'm willing to take it to the level where I can say this is as much, but
Okay.
somebody has to review it, and then it can go to Ben, and let's see what he charges to review it and file it. Because I can't be responsible for that.
Yeah.
But I can be willing to do that with the help of this person who's, she's used to doing all of this for everything but a nonprofit, so.
Is that something that needs to be reviewed by a CPA?
I didn't see anything on there that said that, but it's a good idea.
Okay.
It's a good, I mean, it's this much paperwork, but it's a lot of stuff that, I mean, even if like one other person from the board came and we could knock it out in probably an hour and a half, just, between 3 of us.
Okay.
And then I'm pretty sure it would bring down the cost, because I was pretty astounded with the amount of, and if, you do this, there's some questions that I can't answer, and that person would be able to.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Okay. Yeah. I'm done.
All right, next with that, we'll move on to the executive director's report. Volunteer. We'll move on to the volunteers report. Morgan?
Yes. So my only comment to the volunteer support is just kind of, I'm sure they will cover this as well. Just try and get some, I think better communication out to regarding the volunteer opportunities. And then again, kind of membership drive, anything we can do to bring in some more people. I know the events that we've been hosting have been very, very fun and exciting and driving that excitement, which has been awesome. But yeah, the only thing I've heard is maybe like a more formalized either garden time or kind of a more formalized way of pushing out information, because sometimes it's kind of unclear what's going on if you want to engage in this as kind of a casual volunteer.
All right.
So do you want to speak?
You guys hear me? I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I said.
Well, in terms of communication, we publish everything online, on Facebook and Instagram, and I send invitations through WhatsApp, sometimes personal messaging, and sometimes in groups. Now we have a problem with the time change, because we are in the garden every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and we all know the hours. All the gardeners know the hours. Now, some people can attend just once a week. Some people can go three times a week. Some people just go once a month. So I mean, that's you cannot force anyone. I mean, yeah, you can force anyone to go more.
No, totally.
And they can.
Is there a place, I guess that's kind of the impression I got, is there a place where all of these, like if you're a once a week or once a month volunteer and you forget if you're not consistent, if you're not going all the time, is there a place
Probably
that,
should be the Slack
like on Facebook or Instagram, that the hours are, you know, that people can reference?
Like hours of the garden?
Just somewhere they can all communicate and like.
Well, I have like three different gardening groups on
Weekly
WhatsApp.
gardening time, Tuesday 2 to 4, you know, whatever, I mean, again, it doesn't have to be public, but maybe for members of the group,
Makes sense.
you know, it can be like in a WhatsApp profile or something, I'm not really sure. But that was really kind of the only feedback I've gotten from the other volunteers.
Okay.
Okay, in terms of, now with the winter time, with this time change, we were used to go Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays from 5 to 7. Now we cannot work at that time because.
But all she's saying is just put it somewhere
Just to-
public so everybody
Yeah,
can
just to
see.
make to have some context here, I mean, to be consistent with those times that we were working in the summer. This morning I spoke to Mr. Marcelo Martinez to see if they can put up some lighting in the garden. I mean, so we can be consistent with those scheduled hours and still work from 5 to 7 during the week, and every Saturday we are there from 8 to noon. I mean, that's since day one I got here. Every Saturday.
Do you have a light pole that's AEP light pole nearby? Because they will install another light facing in your direction for very little money. I don't know if you've
Might
looked
be
at
cheaper
that.
than a generator that we were thinking about.
Yeah.
If you have an AEP light pole.
Should be one, right? In that corner.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a great suggestion.
So you don't have a WhatsApp group?
Yeah, I have like 3 groups, three different garden groups.
So right here under ad group description, just put the hours of operation, and as they change with the time change, you just update it.
Yeah, I send them invitations every time, and I mean, some of them don't even read the messages, and some of them they are very engaged. I cannot speak for everyone, but yeah.
It's okay.
Maybe even a Facebook event so that they can share it with people might be great.
So we'll have 3 different Facebook events per week.
Yeah, so it's just one event and then it has multiple dates for the next 2 months. So this is our season schedule, and so you'll have those people invited, but then they can easily get more volunteers that benefit.
For example, this afternoon we're meeting at 4 p.m. because at 5:30 it's almost night, and we're not able to do. I mean, and people is not able to go at 4 because they have to work. They normally go after 5 or after 6
Yeah,
to do gardening. So yeah, that's a big problem
the
right
lighting is
now
important. Yeah.
for me. Yeah.
Well, let us know what you need in terms of investment, and I think that's a great suggestion with AEPs that might be cheaper than the generator we talked about. But if you present both, I think at the next meeting, or even if it needs to be sooner, let us know. We can try to get that
There's a
going.
number to a pole that's there. Like every pole has a number. If you send me that pole number, I'll see what I can find.
It looks like there's one at the corner.
Sometimes it's not. Is it on at night? Do you know if it's on? Because if it's busted, a lot of them are busted and people don't call them in.
I'll check tonight.
Yeah.
I know la luz del working, cara, porque si no llega poquito.
Sí.
Las de acá no tenemos.
I don't see a light on
The pole?
on the corner pole, but I think they could mount it and point it towards the garden.
And they can put a pretty strong light. That might be enough.
And those go to, they have to install a meter for the, I don't remember that.
No, I think it'll be part of the city grid if it doesn't have a light.
Yeah, usually or parks or traffic or whoever, we just need to know the number, and then they'll have AEP mounted, and then the city pays a yearly fee of whatever. Yeah.
Maybe
Treasurer approves. Likes a plan.
And maybe Tony Arce is a community manager. Maybe there's some way he'd be interested in helping out with that as well. Might donate that fee or work with you a little bit more closely. Tony obviously for AEP.
I can go.
Okay, thank you for that. And I guess with that, we should continue with, what's this, Executive Director's report?
Okay?
Oh, sorry, actually, first, okay, Morgan, is that everything for the volunteer report?
What's that?
Yes, that was all for today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You didn't make a report on that?
What's it? All yours.
Okay. I'm gonna report about the pumpkin patch. I'm gonna leave the grant conversation at the end so we can introduce Dr. Diaz properly and then talk to her. So the pumpkin patch was a huge success. We had over 1,500 people in the garden for 3 weeks, and we were open Thursdays, Saturdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays for 2 or 4 hours. Saturdays, 4 hours. And we have vendors during the Saturdays events. The numbers are here. We were able to raise $7,000 and almost $600, almost 8K between the two nonprofit organizations, which are Laredo Crime Stoppers and LCU-AS. The other two persons that help us a lot are volunteers of the garden, and they have their own full-time jobs, but they also are social media influencers, so they help us promote the event very, very good. We had some sponsorships that are listed here. We had Medicorp Insurance, Twin Cities, Sanctuary, Capataz, Taberilla, Eduardo Lozano, Kona Ice. And we also had some in-kind donation, Texas Legacy bail bonds, Laredo Ranch Heights, Laredo firefighters, the Laredo Fire Department Chief, Triumph Public School, Texas Legacy, okay, that's again Texas Legacy, City of Laredo, and of course Mr. Julio Martinez, council member. We were on the news, we were on TV, on radio. So we are meeting today to start planning the December event. So we're very happy and eager to make another fundraising event. In terms of community outreach, I was invited to, we received a group from Martin High School one afternoon during the patch. They helped us clean out a plot. I made a tour with them. It was a good time, and they invited me after that the next week to their Dia de los Muertos event. So I was asked to talk about Flor de Cempasúchil, or marigolds, and the significance with the Mexican tradition. And we did a video collaboration for Rio Grande International Study Center. Of course, in this paper, you cannot see the video, but on the online version of the report, you can watch the video. Upcoming events was again, here are the volunteers opportunities listed for this week. Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday we have farmers market. And let's talk about grants.
Congratulations on a really great event.
Yeah.
Saw it everywhere online, and
Yeah.
everyone was taking awesome photos with it. And I know you had some people from Monterrey also visited.
Yeah, from Mexico City. Yeah, some influencers from Mexico City. The Visit Laredo brought these influencers, so they were posting stories about the patch and our garden.
Really great, publicity. You put on a great event, and I think it was a good decision on the collaboration with Crime Stoppers. I'm glad you made that executive decision to collaborate in this way. Brought in a nice check too, great publicity. So yeah, thank you for creating that momentum. And looking forward to the next events that you put together.
Yeah. So grants, I want you to know Dr. Mireles. She was Dean of the College of Ed at TAMU. But Dr. Mireles, please introduce yourself.
Hi everybody, good afternoon. I got it right this time. I didn't say morning. Thank you for having me here at the meeting, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity. I want to tell you a little bit about myself and also discuss some of the things I'd like to propose in regards to working with Mr. Moreno and of course the LCUAS organization. As Mr. Moreno mentioned, yes, I had a stint at TAMU. I was the Associate Dean of the College of Education back in about 2015 to 2017. After that, I was a Dean and a Special Assistant to the President and to the Provost at the University of Texas at Permian Basin. And then after that, I finally made it home, which was my ultimate goal, to end up back in the Rio Grande Valley in my hometown of Brownsville, Texas. And I was Vice President for Faculty Success and Diversity at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. But COVID hit very close to home, as I'm sure it has impacted you in one way or another. And consequently, I found myself having to have my children at home. And I found at that time it was best for me to step back from my, I'm sorry about that, that's my home phone. To step back from my personal career and to dedicate some time to my children. And at that time, I also started shifting to doing some personal work and some consulting work. And I founded my own business, which I call All Star Education. I have shared with Mr. Moreno and with President Garcia my YouTube video that sort of summarizes what I just said. You're welcome to look at it, but if you do, remember you have to like it. So make sure you put the little thumbs up. I'll have them share that with you at their leisure. So All-Star Education, I pretty much do everything that supports education. That includes grant writing, faculty support, teacher support, professional development, tutoring. That was actually my initial idea, was to help students who have been severely impacted or needed some type of support as they transition back to going to school face to face. And so I found myself really diving into that. Through my previous experience, I came to find and get to know Mr. Moreno and the LCUAS organization. I think very highly of it. I embrace that. If you look at my vita, which I too have sent to both of these gentlemen, you'll notice that I am the recipient of 2 USDA grants. I have a very good relationship with the program officers at USDA, and I actually left one of those USDA grants at TAMU. It was literally in my last couple of weeks at TAMU that I wrote it in a whirlwind, and I left it there. Actually, Dr. Gloria assumed the role of project director, and so if you want to look that up, you're welcome to do that too. I also left, just so you'll know, $1 million grant, $1 million NSF grant at TAMU that helps to support student financial support for students that are in STEM majors. So just to give you an idea of my success record in the past. I'm going to pause right here and see if you have any questions about me or my credentials, and or if you'd like me to elaborate on anything else, I'm happy to do so. And then after this, I'll shift to what I propose to do with LCUAS.
No, I think we're all delighted to hear what you propose to do with LCUAS.
All right. Okay. So, well, thank you for that. So I'm not quite sure if I can share the screen, but and I'm not sure if you were able to distribute the documents that I sent ahead of time. Do you have the documents ahead of you, or would you like me to try to share?
No, go ahead and try to share.
Okay.
You should have permission.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I'm going to start off by sharing this particular document, but I want to preface this by saying I propose 4 general initiatives with LCUAS. One of them is the development of what I like to call an organizational boilerplate. This would be, in essence, a list, if you will, a document that you could utilize for anything you do moving forward. It would be a nice way, this is what I do usually with nonprofit organizations, is really help them to organize and to establish a strong list of information that could pretty much be required or necessary for any grant that you wish to apply for. This includes, of course, some factual information like the board of directors, that's you all, who the officers are. Very typically, these granting organizations require that kind of information, making sure that the organizational structure is established and that there's a regular meeting and minutes. Also, articles of incorporation. Although I was muted, I could hear your conversation about the 501(c), and having those kinds of documents are very essential to submitting grant applications, because they need to validate that you are a nonprofit organization. So that type of information and those documents are essential to submitting grant applications. But also any kind of insurance, any kind of authority that's granted to Mr. Moreno as the executive director also needs to be put into place, and any kind of executive summaries and financial statements that for grants that were received in the past. Some of this other information, like the DUNS number and the SAM registration, those are things that also need to be part of the boilerplate. And these things tend to be more factual, but one of the things that I think is extremely meaningful, and I have already, as President Garcia mentioned, I have already begun in good faith to work with Mr. Moreno on, are some of the critical things that identify LCUAS as an organization and its purpose, which are the mission, the vision, the tenets, the goals, the objectives, the long-term and short-term plans. Those kinds of elements are really elements that distinguish an organization and that really begin to set the groundwork for the need for the organization to receive grant monies. Of course, going back to the financial good standing and then resources and facilities, really being able to, at some point in time, establish what is actually the square footage of the area, what is the how many foods actually get grown and distributed. All those kinds of things need to be quantified and written down, and that's part of the boilerplate, including existing or possible collaborators. As I heard from Mr. Moreno that there were collaborators with the pumpkin patch, which I think too, I want to echo the fabulous job that was done with that, because it really encapsulates the essence of what it means to have a garden, and I really think it was a great community engagement activity. So this is the organizational boilerplate. I think this would be one of the things that, again, I've already begun to work with and establish, and this would be a deliverable that you would use as an organization that would be able to be used when you're applying for grants with me or without me. And that's one of the first things. Again, I'll pause to see if you have any questions or comments about that.
Questions? I think that alone is already a huge value that we can use for any grants, as you said, whether we decide to work with her for future grants or not. I think, depending on how the outcomes of the grants, we can decide that, but I think that alone is going to help us and help OSED be able to use that template for, grants to come for the next few years. That's my only comment.
Okay. All right, anybody else? I'll continue.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the second thing, as I mentioned, there are 4 things that I'm proposing. The second thing I'm proposing is the grant prospects and tracker sheet. I also have another document, and I hope, are you able to see this?
Yes.
Okay. So this document that I'm hoping to create for the LCUAS organization would include a list of all, not all, excuse me, but a list of a substantive amount of grants that are available to the organization to apply for. They would be aligned to the goals of the organization, which I have been privy to on, I believe it's article number 4. So there would be alignment to the goals for the organization, who the granting agency is and what the grant name is, because sometimes organizations have multiple grants that they have available in multiple competitions. What the objective of the grant is, as noted on the RFA, possible award amounts, like they'll say, okay, we're going to award anything from $100,000 to $500,000, etc. The number of awards that will be given, the granting period, so you're very cognizant of what you're getting yourself into. Is it a 1-year grant, a 2-year grant? When is the grant due? When are the grants awarded? What is the likelihood that the grant will be funded? And this would be unique to your organization. And I would propose in this document that you could then establish, I don't want the organization to invest time in writing a grant that the likelihood that it get accepted and that it get awarded is below 30%, let's say. You want to take something a little bit higher, but I will provide that information to you to the best of my ability. The website for the granting agency and the evaluation dates, which are really, really critical. I had a professor when I was working on my PhD say to me, you know, when you write these grants, you need to really think about one day you're going to get the grant and you're going to have to go and do what the grant says. So with that comes reporting, which again is very important for you as board members. And then what I wanted to share with you is how much that cost would be for me to actually write the grant and the method of securing any funding for the writing. So this may include direct pay by the organization if there's no other availability, but many times there are grants that allow for that funding to be incorporated either directly, grant writer funding, or funding where there's a cost savings and you're able to shift some of those monies around from the organizational standpoint. I also am very well versed as an evaluator, and actually I would venture to say that that's one of my strengths, is that I'm a very good evaluator. That's based on my mathematical background and as well as my experience with running grant evaluation projects. So whether or not you would want me to serve as the evaluator or how you would like me to serve, and that written in. But again, this information, this product is yours. This would be belong to LCUAS once as a deliverable, and then you can choose to do what you want to do with that. There are opportunities for one grant to be written, maybe, and 1 or 2 grants, and then you say, okay, well, we can take it from here, or I can use this as a model, and then we can you can fold that in moving forward. Or when you're looking at a granting agency and you're just looking for funding for a project, an existing project, then that would be another thing that that could be easily done by the executive director and hopefully support staff as the grants get funded. So this is another document. This is the second thing that I'd like to propose that I create for the organization, and then you can, in essence, cherry pick what you'd like to do and how you'd like to move forward with that. Again, I'll pause to see if there's any questions or comments.
How do you share the grant tracker form with everybody on the board? Is it like a Google document site or something, or Slack maybe?
So Say it again, I'm sorry.
How do you share the grant tracker, since it's pretty much a live document? Would that be through like a Google's document or maybe a Slack site or something?
However we decide you want that to happen, I mean, I'm very flexible.
Okay.
Essentially, this tracker, will give us all of the things we can potentially get, and how much you would charge us, what's our likelihood of getting it. So that's important because I think to even find out which grants we're eligible for is pretty difficult. I don't know how I'll go about which USDA grant we can go after with our current registration or not, and it's $500,000. Are we gonna pay $10,000 to go after that grant or not? Because we only have a 20% likelihood. Or we're going to use a boiler template to use that. But we're going to have a boiler template, plus we can apply for these grants. We'll be able to make proper decisions as a board on a per grant basis, essentially. Is there any other questions or comments? Okay, I think we're good with that as well. Thank you, Dr.
Okay, so thank you. The third thing I wanted to propose, and this is actually in tandem with the grant prospects and tracker sheet, and this capitalizes on my unique networking. That would be the establishment of a network for LCUAS and connecting program officers to the executive director, in this case, Mr. Moreno. That would also include making sure that the executive director, Mr. Moreno, is on any listservs or mailing lists, so that these kinds of opportunities he can continue to be informed by or about these kinds of opportunities, and could then have his established, or LCUAS, their own networking opportunities. So, and I'm going to stop sharing because I'm just talking now. So, okay. So that would be the third thing, and that's a very, again, a very important type of thing to do. It includes also any kind of collaborators, because you'll need to have that kind of collaboration with, for example, the school districts or other nonprofit organizations, or maybe for-profit organizations that would be willing to include matching funds and things of that nature. So that would be another byproduct of the development of the grant prospects and tracker, is the establishment of the network. Okay. And then the fourth thing, which honestly I probably should have said first, and that is just a piggyback on what Mr. Moreno's already doing. And that is, with the, of course, with the existence of this nonprofit, you are very eligible for fundraising opportunities that include things like raffles, silent auctions, garage sales. Christmas is around the corner. Maybe you want to do something similar like you did with the Christmas trees. I can't see right now what Mr. Moreno's face is, if he's cringing or he's smiling, but maybe he doesn't want to do Christmas trees, I'm not sure. But in any event, those types of fundraising would produce an immediate cash flow to the organization. And what I'd like to propose is that those fundraising opportunities, not as grand as the pumpkin patch, which would require the need for collaborators and to do those in conjunction with other organizations, but maybe something that can be manageable right now for Mr. Moreno and for the board to get off the ground. I think that you would then, again, you have an immediate cash flow, and you could start to do some of the things that you needed to do to start really investing, to have that matching funds, to pay for your wonderful grant writer, things like that. One of the things that I would manage what I would propose to do is to coordinate these fundraising initiatives, and similar to the grant writing, I would include my own fee that would be paid out of the result of the fundraising activity, so you wouldn't necessarily have to have anything that you pay out up front. That would include organization of the event, well, pitching the event to see if that's something that you wanted to do, organizing a list of the resources and the investments that you would need to make from concept to closure, as well as plan and prepare the event, which I could do remotely, and then of course LCUAS would execute. But again, I'm talking about things like a raffle that can be done even on Facebook, and there are mechanisms, as you were talking about how to show your times, there's ways to do that. You can sell tickets, put people's names in there, you do a live, you do Facebook Live, and you have your raffle already ready to go. And again, immediate cash flow. You have, let's say with your bank, where you bank, you have Zelle or you have the Cash App, and everything can be done electronically. Things are done very smoothly now. And I guess I would venture to say that that's one of the positive things that has come from COVID is that we are very well versed in doing things electronically and virtually. So I wanted to mention that to you because I think that we can do those things in tandem. We can get businesses to donate prizes or things like that. I mean, there's a plethora of things that can be established. And I'll give you an example. I'm working with a nonprofit here in Brownsville that provides shelter for the homeless. They have a small lot, but they put little tents in their lot, and they also provide meals. And they're doing, after talking to what they can do and what they feel comfortable doing, they're actually doing a dog wash. So, they're gonna all they need is water. We've established a location, a little field where that's next to a business that has water. They have soap, sponges, towels, and they're gonna start off really simple by doing this dog wash, and then they'll have concessions also, a little place
Dr. Dennis,
for the dogs to walk. So,
Dr. Dennis, I'm sorry,
things like that.
Can you hear me, Dr. Dennis?
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry, we're running a little late on time here. We are, so I wanted to kind of just I want to get your proposal so that we can consider it in executive session to see if we would like to move forward. Do you have the financials that you will be requesting for these services? And also,
yes.
I don't know if we need to go through a process of RFP for getting started on. No? Okay. Okay, just wanted to clarify that. Thank you, Dr. Dennis.
Sure. Okay, so I'm sorry about that. And as the people who have spoken to me before know that for a math person, I talk a lot. So you're welcome to cut me off. But yes, what I'm proposing for these four things is $3,000.
For $3,000 for what duration? Well, that's,
The boilerplate, right?
Yeah,
the
boilerplate.
boilerplate, the grant tracker, establishing of a network, and fundraising. So, like, what would be the beginning of the contract and to the end? So, if we had questions, at what point could we start, and at what point would we have to stop?
Well, I would say that I could have these deliverables for you within a month. And then, so we could have that FOC for the month, and then you could decide if you wanted me to write any of the grants, then that would be another additional contract, if you will. And it would be grant by grant or fundraiser by fundraiser, but I would establish the whole idea first.
So, for example, you set up the boilerplate, which I understand that's a actual tangible product, great. The grant tracker, isn't that something that's fluid, that may change over time, but it doesn't mean you would apply for anything?
It could be fluid, and I could continue to add to it, but I would say that for each of the goals that you have listed in Article 4, I would probably include maybe 4 to 5 grant prospects for each of those. So that would be about a list of 20.
Okay, and then establishing a network, I get that. That's a product, I get you. Now fundraising. So you you gave us some ideas on fundraising, raffle, silent auctions and stuff. And then, for how long would you be available to assist in those fundraising products, items?
As long as you want it. What I'm suggesting is that, very similar to the grant prospects and tracker, I would establish a fundraiser prospects and tracker and list those for you, and then you could decide when you wanted to do them, and then that fee would be my fee would come out of the proceeds of the fundraiser.
Oh, I understand. Okay. So the grant tracker and the fundraiser have additional fees if we want to actually take action.
Correct.
Gotcha. Perfect.
Will she do a website?
She wants off doing a website as well.
Does she do it?
Yes.
She knows how to do one, but I think from what I've seen, honestly, and then also I think something that when we brought on said, I think we would like to do one of those, essentially like a free website like Wix or something that is simple to drag and drop. But you're saying that
Well, I mean, they can establish it and then you keep it up.
okay.
I mean, it takes time to put it together, and then through which the person can keep it up.
I agree. I mean, yes, I think as long as a board, if you ever decide that what we would like to see in the website, we could definitely offer Dr. Mills an opportunity to bid on that or to just
I thought it was part of,
the project.
yeah. No?
It's not included, but we could do something like that if everyone would like the website.
Do we have a proposal?
Yes. Yeah. She's proposing 4 items: the boilerplate template, the grant tracker, establishment of a network with LCUAS from potential grantors, and a fundraising arm for $3,000. And the grant tracker, if we do decide to pursue any grants, we would go back to her and there would be an additional fee per grant. Do you have a breakdown of what the fee would be per grant? Is it like a percentage of, or is it a solid cost?
Well, no, but I would include it for each of the grants. So I would include what my writing fee would be for each of the grants. So for example, United Way has a grant, and I'm very familiar with that particular template. And so in that case, I would say, okay, this is how much it would cost. If we're just proposing that the project would be one of the existing projects, then that might be a lesser fee than the fees that it would be to do something like a National Science Foundation grant for $1 million that includes, a lot of collaborators and things of that nature. But I can share with you that we're talking about, I'm very, and I don't want to use the word cheap because I'm not cheap, but low cost. So we're talking about anywhere from like $500 to write something that's already an existing project and just to put it all together. And maybe at the high end, maybe about $3,000 for a bigger grant where I have to create the idea. Like, for example, something I did, offline with Mr. Moreno, like the Pepper Project, where I conceived the idea, I established the objectives, I wrote, all of that, and what that entails comes from me. So that, that one would be not necessarily the 3,000, but just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So, and then also, if you notice back on that document, and I'm happy to share them again, and you can print them out if need be, but I would include how you would negotiate that fee for me, whether it would be embedded in the granting fees or, how you could recoup those costs.
Okay, thank you.
Any question? We're going to go into executive session so we can discuss this and then decide. Do we pause this? Or?
So she just logs off.
Yeah, we'll be back to it.
Oh, okay.
Or
So
are we going to negotiate with her?
No, she already set a set fee of $3,000.
Well, I haven't seen it, but what I would like to see is just the scope of services that spell all this out and have the amounts in there. And then that way, if we decide to go with that, then we attach it to a contract as Exhibit A, and then we take action on that if we decide to go with it.
You were saying earlier that you sent it to us, Dr. Midelis, or we didn't receive that. Did you send it to someone? Essentially, it was,
The two documents that I shared with you is what I sent before. Is it? I'm not sure. Is this President Garcia talking?
yes, I'm asking. You sent it to me. You're saying? Right
Yes,
before,
sir.
right before this
I
meeting.
did. And an email that is dated November 3rd at 11:02 a.m.
Okay, it might have gone junk then because I haven't seen anything like that. Let me check that.
Okay, I can send it to you again, and it does delineate the 4 items. What is missing from there is the amount. And if you'd like for me, and I apologize because, like, for example, the lady that's sitting at the corner with closest to the exit, I couldn't hear what you were saying. So if you were addressing something to me, I apologize if I didn't respond. But if you'd like for me to do something a little bit more detailed, I'm happy to do that. You can just let me know. That's not a problem.
Yeah, if you could send us something with the actual amount so that we can have it for our records, should we decide to go ahead and pursue it, just for tracking purposes and transparency.
Yeah, something a little more detailed with the amounts and then broken down into tasks. So basically how you would get paid is you would invoice for a particular task and then, we pay you for that. But have it all spelled out. And then if we decide to go with it, then we attach it to a contract and then, I understand there would be this flat rate of $3,000, but if we're talking about a certain amount per grant, obviously spell it out that way, and then when we go after grants, then you invoice according to that schedule, and that's how we pay you.
Yes, sir. And just for clarification, the amount per grant would be included in one of those deliverables, which would be the grant prospects and tracker. So what I'll send you is the delineation of the 4 items that we discussed today, and then I'll give you the price points for each of those 4, so that even at that point, if you choose to cherry pick, you're welcome to do so. All right.
Thank you, Dr. Midelis, for your time. Is there any other questions?
For me, no. But I'm happy to do that, President Garcia. I'll send that to you and to Mr. Moreno shortly. And thank you so much for this opportunity. I enjoyed meeting you all virtually, and I hope to work with you. But I understand you all are in it's difficult to negotiate a nonprofit organization. So I admire your work for that. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
So that's more.
So I guess
I make a motion to
contents.
move into executive session. Are we still going
Yes,
to?
I think so. Yes, we'll try to. I know we're already running pretty late, so I'm gonna try to get through this at least, and then we can end quickly. So, anyone want a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Great. All those in favor? Any against? Okay. So context. Right. First, it was.
Let me make sure we got that.
Thank you.